In the echoing wake of Goldie Roger's profound proclamation, wealth, fame, power, our sails unfurl upon the grand line, ushering in the dawn of a new great pirate odyssey. Today we embark on our own voyage, as I plunge in the captivating world of One Piece, where dreams set sail and the extraordinary awaits. I welcome you to my channel, Anime YouTube, where I will be jumping into the One Piece manga. My name is Jackson, and before we get started, I want to give you some context on my knowledge of One Piece. I do know a bit about One Piece. It is one of the only anime that I know a little bit about. Um, I have seen about pretty much all of the East Blue Saga. I have watched basically episodes 1 through 60, 70 something in the anime, and I have also watched the Netflix live action adaptation, so I am familiar about this part of, I guess, storyline for One Piece. But I have never read the manga, which is why I'm here for you today to give you my review of the first 5 chapters of One Piece. Now, just I'm not gonna go chapter by chapter. I'm kind of just gonna speak my mind about what I thought about, I guess the differences between this and those other adaptations, but also what I thought about it as well and how it flowed. Um, First off, I want to start off with exploring Luffy as a character. In this, in the manga, we start out with the basically 10 years before present day of One Piece, and we basically learn about Luffy and where he came from and this and that. In the other adaptations, they kind of approach this as flashbacks, as they do with a couple of other major, I guess, major lore drops with some of our favorite characters. They all approach them as flashbacks, but this, the manga starts out with Luffy. And I understand why they did that because you need to have some context of Luffy because otherwise he seems like a very out there character, which I guess he has always been. Um, but starting out with Luffy's dream, what he wants to what he wants to achieve. He wants to be the best pirate in the world, king of the pirates. Starting out with that gives us some more context when you kind of look at his relationships with other people as we continue on through these next couple of chapters. We learn about him and Shanks and basically him giving him the straw hat. I mean, it's really beautiful stuff. The one panel where Luffy's crying because Shanks got his arm bitten off by the sea monster, and him putting the hat on. It's just one of the coolest panels I think that I've seen in the first couple of chapters here. It is just really a pivotal moment in Luffy's life as he realizes that just how much Shanks cares about him, and he wants to be king of the pirates for him basically. And he wants to eventually pass him up, kind of at the same time. That was a really awesome thing to see. Chapter 1 through 5, they do set up a lot of things that are, there's a lot of foreshadowing that occurs. One of them is through the bounties. We meet Higuma, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, in the first chapter, and he's kind of like, I have a bounty, this and that, and that obviously comes into play a lot more later, where all these pirates have all these bounties, and they also introduce devil fruit, which Luffy eats. It's very interesting because I would assume that that they would protect that gum fruit a little bit more, but it was kind of just like in a chest. And I'd assume devil fruits are like relatively rare, so like that kind of just like I don't know. It's just like if it's such a rare thing, shouldn't you have someone looking at it all times? I don't know. Find it very funny how he got it, but he needs to eat it in order for One Piece to happen. So I don't really worry about things like that. But yeah, I mean, chapter 1 was great. You also had the whole or just the first couple chapters has been great. You also had the whole Gold Roger thing. I'm very curious about him. Um, he's kind of just like there. He sets off this great pirate age this odyssey. This everyone's looking for this great treasure of his. I'd love to learn more about him. I'm very curious. He also in the English translated version, I think it says like the Great Piracy Era, which is so funny because I know 95% of probably 99% of people who've read One Piece don't own it physically and probably pirate it. So the Great Era of piracy is so funny to me. Um, and after we do that flashback, we go to the current time. We see Luffy, and he's kind of like he's such a funny protagonist to follow because he's so like distant from like real world, and but he's so like he's such a real one because like when he meets Kobe or Cody, I think it's Cody. If it's not, I'll make sure I change it for the next video. But when he meets Cody, Cody tells him about his aspirations of being in the Navy, and Luffy's like, "Why don't you just do it? Just leave Alvida's crew, you know?" And Cody's like, "Wait, what? I can't do that." And then Luffy's like, "Why not? Why can't you do that?" And it's like we all need a Luffy in our lives. We all need somebody who's constantly telling us to just go out there, um, pursue our dreams, and just don't let anyone tell you that you can't. And that's what's so great about episode two. Just that whole interaction. Um, and another thing about or not episode two, chapter two. Sorry. Chapter two also kind of dives into that like Oda does a really good job at making all these background characters as just like funny as possible. Everyone's they're emoting just crazily. It's really fun to read. It pops out of the page. You can see it translated really well in the anime as well as live action. There's a bunch of larger than life characters here, and Oda does such a great job at, you know, balancing it all out, but just making it a lot of fun to read. And then after, the whole Avita thing, Luffy kind of, he hears about this great pirate hunter swordsman named Zoro, who is probably one of my favorite characters, probably my favorite character, because he's this guy, and he's really like, he's kind of like mean, straight face. He's a tough guy, but once you get past the tough guy, you see his fun side peek out. You see Luffy bring out something else into him. Although you haven't, even though these first five chapters, Zoro hasn't been like, yeah, I'll join your pirate crew. Um, you kind of see him soften up to Luffy, because Luffy's like, I don't know if I'll let you join my crew, and Zoro's like, I don't want to join your crew in the first place. So it's a lot of fun to see that interaction happen. You also get like the whole Navy thing because you have Cody who wants to be a good Navy member after he sees the how bad Helmeppo and Captain Morgan treat people. Helmeppo, I was very interested in seeing how he was written in this manga to compare it to the anime live action interpretations. I find him such an irritating character, but after reading this, um, you can definitely see that that was the intent to make him as irritating and frustrating as possible. Probably will have some character development later on. I kind of got that sense that he did in the Netflix live action interpretation of it. So yeah, he's an extremely irritating character. But it also makes him fun. All these, like I said, all these larger than life characters that Oda puts into here, seeing how they interact is it's a lot of fun. It's really bonkers. Can't wait to see it develop in the future. And then you get introduced to Captain Morgan, who's just like pure evil guy, and he's like a so the Navy. What Oda does is he crafts this idea that the Navy are sort of the good guys, but then like you see Captain Morgan the way he treats people, and you're like, okay, so the Navy they're good sort of guys, but Captain Morgan's just this like really evil guy, you know. So Captain Morgan's just like the I guess the he's like the oh, what's the word? What am I looking for? He's kind of like God, he's kind of like the cancer, I guess, or the toxicity of the Navy. Someone that should not be in charge that is in charge. Oda's he's throwing in his own commentary on stuff like that. Where someone really bad is in charge of a not so bad, I guess, organization. And yeah, so you see that, I guess, Captain Morgan's abusive self, and you see Cody. He wants to be a good Navy boy because of how bad Captain Morgan treats this Navy base and just everyone. So you see some of that in there. And then you have, Luffy's just he sees the bad. He's obviously he thinks of himself as going to become the king of the pirates. So he's obviously anti Navy anyway. But Zoro kind of realizes that, hey, the Navy's gonna kill me. He kind of had this false impression that they were gonna let him live for a month and then he would eventually get let out, but that's not really that was never happening in the first place. So Luffy kind of opens that, I guess, that up to him, I guess. I so chapter 5 ends right where uh Zoro has his flashback and then he's like, I can't die right now. And so we don't really get to see, I guess, him open up to Luffy that much, um, which I'll talk about in the next couple of chapters, chapters 6 through 10, which will probably be the next video. So feel free. I don't know if it's gonna be released when this one's released, but stay tuned for that. And subscribe if you want to see more because I have a lot of content that's gonna be coming out over the when this video drops. So please take a look out for that and hit the subscribe button if you're liking what you're listening to or seeing. But anyways, chapter 5, it has a really fun cover for the chapter. It's like Luffy drinking something with a dolphin. It has absolutely nothing to do with what happens in this chapter, but I love how Oda kind of just throws that in there. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'll also check on that. Cody and Oda. I have to check on those two names to make sure that they are that I'm not mispronouncing them. Oda also, I mean, obviously he's having fun with all these drawings and all these larger than life characters, but I love the way he draws emotion out of the page. You can definitely see it with the anime as well as even the live action interpretation. You can see the emotions being pulled out, especially through the Zoro's flashback where you get to learn about his past. You get to learn about his three sword style, why he does what he does, why he wants to become the greatest swordsman, and you kind of see that connection where okay, Luffy wants to be the greatest pirate, Zoro wants to be the greatest swordsman. They're kind of similar in that case, and you kind of see how that relationship goes. But what's interesting is that unlike chapter 1, which wasn't really a flashback, it was more like just setting the stage of Luffy as a character, understanding him. This Zoro thing is a flashback. But when you look at the other the live action as well as the anime adaptation, both Zoro and Luffy's past were told through flashbacks. So it is interesting how this one was, also a flashback, and how he turned Luffy's also into a flashback. But what's interesting about this is I actually prefer the anime version of this because it didn't feel rushed, but it was not even 10 pages of this sort of Zoro backstory and why he is kind of the way he is. It was a quick flashback, and I'm pretty sure they'll expand on it a little bit more. But I liked the anime's interpretation of this a little bit better. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I do think it kind of happens pretty quickly in the manga, and I think Oda increased the length of it in the anime because he knew they had such a powerful moment. I think it still hits emotionally. However, it could have hit harder emotionally, if he drew it out, maybe made a chapter on it, kind of like how he made an episode in the anime, I'm pretty sure, on it. Like, as opposed to reading it in 5 minutes, I had a 20-minute anime episode, that really, told the story and then concluded in the sad way. But through having this flashback here, you understand Zoro's situation and his feelings, as well as his, like I said, his philosophy, as opposed, to Luffy's, and well, not really opposed because they're kind of similar in that case, and you see why Um, you understand why he eventually teams up with Luffy, even though it's not in the kind of spoilers. It's gonna be in episode or chapters 6 through 10, but you kind of understand it now. You understand why this is happening like that. But this all leads up to a right before a battle with the Navy. And yeah, so I really enjoyed these first five chapters. I really like how Oda develops Luffy. I really like how he takes these characters, all these larger than life characters, and he really brings them out of the page. Really like I didn't really talk about Alvida much, but her and Captain Morgan, and even Higuma too. All these little antagonists, um, just like evil, just like bad people, bad pirates. I mean, although Captain Morgan's basically a pirate. I mean, he acts like one, but all these bad people, and you just have this guy Luffy who's just like he's so much fun to watch, and then you have all these other characters. It's just so much fun. There is quite a bit of foreshadowing he does as well. He kind of foreshadows Nami because he obviously Luffy needs a navigator. Nami comes in because she has that navigator experience. Because Cody's also a great navigator. It seems like Luffy really be running into the best navigators around. Very lucky of it to do so. But yeah. So chapters 1 through 5, I enjoyed them a lot. Definitely would continue reading. Like if this wasn't like I mean obviously I read or I watched the anime because I was interested in what was going on. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, those larger than life characters, Luffy, hate Helmeppo, but also kind of love him at the same time because I hate him so much. Zoro as well. It's all just so much fun, and I can't wait to check out uh the chapters 6 through 10. Like I said, but anyways, thank you guys all for watching. Um, I really enjoyed this. Hope y'all did too. If you want to continue, if you want me to continue this series, please let me know. Maybe leave a comment. Talking about whether or not I pronounced Cody or Oda correctly. But yeah, we have a lot of other. I have a lot of other anime related content, anime and manga content on the channel. So please feel free to check it out and have a great rest of your day.